Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I am reviewing in my car because the house is loud, and as you can see we've had some snow, which I am very excited about. I love winter, I love the changing of the seasons, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for everything but driving in the snow. Not a fan of driving in the snow, and not a fan of having to scrape off my car windshield because I don't have a garage where I live now, but we're doing the best of what we have. So, in the car, in the cold, reviewing books. Today I'm going to be reviewing Algebra the Beautiful, an ode to math's least loved subject by Arnell Williams. So, I didn't know what to expect when I checked this book out. I have a special place in my heart for algebra. I received my college degree, my bachelor's, in math, and so that makes people think that I was always good at math or that math was always fun for me. I actually really hated math up until Algebra 2. So my school split up, our 4 years of high school were split up with 4 different math classes. There was like a, and I'll get to this, there was a less math intensive track and then there was a more math intensive track. And I took the more math intensive track, and the first class was Algebra 1. Second class was Algebra 2, so 9th grade Algebra 1, 10th grade Algebra 2, 11th grade pre-calculus, and then 12th grade calculus. And geometry was split across those 4 years. I believe, if I remember correctly, everyone was required to take Algebra 1 and 2, and then at that point the people who didn't want to continue on to calculus could take it was like business math and personal finance, I believe, were the other two courses they would take through 11th and 12th grade, were they not to take pre-calculus and calculus. I hated math all the way up until Algebra 2, and the only thing that saved me in Algebra 2 was I had a teacher whose teaching style clicked with me. And when I began to understand math and I began to understand the way math worked, all of a sudden all the confusion went away, and I found out that I really actually enjoyed that topic. And it actually put me on the trajectory to get the college degree that I have, and yeah, basically probably made a very big influence in my life, because that college degree will of course impact the kind of jobs you can get and the kind of jobs that I have received. So having a good math teacher is essential and fundamental, and I think there is definitely a shortage of good quality math teachers in the system. I do know that algebra is, for a lot of people, the place where math starts to fall apart. They're moving away from the arithmetic and they're kind of moving into this strange field. If I had $1 for every time someone said, well, I left math when they introduced the alphabet, I would not have to work a day job, because that's what everyone says. That's where things kind of get confusing and things fall apart. And a lot of people really dislike algebra, as covered in this title, an ode to math's least loved subject. I think math, there are some people who just don't like math and wouldn't like math, but I think math gets an unnecessary level of dislike, probably just due to the way it's taught, and almost like conditioning. People around them hear other people, parents, saying it's difficult, other students saying it's difficult, and then they start to think, well, maybe it's difficult. And then the moment they run into trouble, it confirms the fact that it's difficult, and all of a sudden they hate math, and then they don't have a good teacher, and then this is stupid, and why is there an X in this problem? And I'll just take the easy math route, because, and I don't want to shame people who didn't complete the more math intensive course in high school, but there's definitely a turning point when you get to algebra, and that's where a lot of people start pinpointing how much they dislike math. That's what I found, and that's what clearly this author has found as well. This author doesn't so much teach algebra, as in this is not an algebra textbook. You don't sit down with it and learn how to do algebra. However, what this book does do is have the author is presenting in this book a way to view algebra that he thinks would be beneficial for people who are being taught algebra. So yes, he does kind of break down how some basic things in algebra work. He talks about educational theory. He talks about maybe the way algebra should be approached, or the way solving problems should be approached. He talks about the disconnect between what students are learning in the classroom versus what's going to actually happen. There's a very big disconnect with what students view as needing in real life versus algebra. And this is more of his approach, or the way he would approach algebra, and the way that maybe he wishes people who are learning it, or people who are going to teach it, would approach the subject. And I think that's the way that you need to approach this book. So when I review this book, it's difficult to separate out my experience with math versus everyone else, because I don't know what someone who really dislikes math, I'm not sure if they would like this book. I'm not sure this book would be for them. I think you should give it a try if math is not your subject, or if algebra was a very traumatic experience for you. I would recommend giving this a try to see if his perspective really shines a light on algebra, or the way he talks about it makes sense to you. I would recommend that. I think that the way we are taught our mathematics plays a huge role in how we view it. and whether or not we like it. So definitely give this a read. Algebra was not a struggle. Algebra 1, I really disliked. Algebra 2, I liked. And everything from then on out was more or less enjoyable, except for this really intensive proofwriting class I took in college that I possibly cried in the library over. But that's a different story. It was still enjoyable in a way. So it is hard for me to say like, oh, if you hate algebra, just read this book and it'll fix everything, because I know it's probably not going to, but I do like the way that he approaches the topic of algebra, and I like the way that he talks about the way he would approach it, or the way that problems should be approached. I like the way he talked about problems, or like seeing similarities between problems. I thought it was very enjoyable, and even though it looks like a bigger book, I feel like it could read pretty quickly, but there's a lot of content in here. And yeah, I just thought it was a well done, enjoyable book. I would probably give it a 3-star just because I'm not sure I personally took anything really new out of it. I'm not an educator. I don't teach math. So that part didn't feel super relevant to me. I'm no longer in the math or in the schooling system, so I'm not doing math. And even if I were to go back to school or to learn new math concepts on my own or outside of school, algebra is not something I particularly find that I struggle with. I felt like I understood the concepts that were presented in this book to the point where some of the steps going through the math felt very, very slow and repetitive, because I kind of already understood or saw where he was going because I have the background that I do. And so for that reason, I give it a 3-star, but I think it is a very, very well done book and a good book. It just might not be targeted to people like me, but I did find it an enjoyable read, and I liked the way he talked about approaching algebra, and I thought that was very, very valuable. So if you teach math, if you are in an algebra class, if you have a child or a student in an algebra class, just anyone who has to interact with algebra, which is anyone in the modern education system, and he does kind of go into why algebra has remained in the modern education system and whether the debate on whether or not it should remain in the education curriculum is touched on in this book. Just wanted to throw that in there. But I just think it would be a really valuable book and another way to take a fresh look at this subject that has caused a lot of people a lot of pain throughout their school career. So without further ado, that is the book Algebra the Beautiful, an ode to math's least loved subject. I'm giving it a 3-star out of 5, but I think that it's a very important book that everyone should at least try and read. And I think that Arnell Williams did a really good job putting this book together. Plus, I just want to throw out that I like the cover. The cover was what drew me to the book initially, so great job on the cover design as well. So give it a read. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read the book or if you've read anything else by him. I'm not sure if he's written anything else. Yeah, he wrote a book called How Math Works, a guide to grade school arithmetic for parents and teachers. That also sounds very interesting. Yeah, I wonder if my library has that. So let me know what you think about this book. And yeah, anything else that you want to add, or any books like this that you think I should read, please leave in the comments, because I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.